Happy Friday, everybody. Today on our shop spotlight, I'm going to be going over grips. Seeing as, at least if you're living in Illinois, we're all kind of stuck at home right now, not able to play golf. For those of you that are maybe in a state where you can play golf, I am very jealous and more power to you. But for those of you stuck at home, and even for those of you that are out of town when you get back into town, I think this is a great time to regrip your clubs. As I said in, I think it was one of my first videos, we went over grips and how that relates to posture and proper grip. So now that hopefully you've figured out the proper way to grip a golf club, I'm going to be going over what you should maybe be playing, some options we have. I'm going to be going over all our Golf Pride options. It's the #1 grip in golf. They make a really good product. So without further ado, I'm going to start with our two best sellers. Really just your basic round grips. I've got the Golf Pride Tour Velvet here and the Tour Wrap. They're both just kind of a basic rubber grip. Very simple, but simple is good. They haven't changed these in a long time. Tour Wrap happens to be our best seller. It's got this glossy kind of finish and it's very tacky. Not quite as good at moisture control. I'll talk about that more in a second. And then Tour Velvet's got a little bit more texture here. I don't know if you can see. And it doesn't have, it's more of a matte finish. But that gives you the same kind of tack, maybe not quite as soft as the Tour Wrap. These come in at $8.50 per grip installed. And any of these grips I'd be happy to do for you. And you can have, really it just feels like getting a new set of clubs when you regrip your clubs. So if you want a new set of clubs without paying for a new set of clubs, I would encourage you to get new grips. Golf Pride will tell you that you should regrip every year or so. I would agree with that, but it also depends how much you play. Somebody like Mr. Edson, who happens to play at least every day, who's probably going crazy right now. Shout out to you, Mr. Edson, hang in there. He's somebody who probably could use a regrip twice a year. Now, if you're somebody who only plays once or twice a month, you could probably get away with doing it every other year or so. So, again, these are this is the Golf Pride Tour Velvet and the Golf Pride Tour Wrap. Now, next, again, those are just your basic grip. Next, I'm going to talk about the Golf Pride Multi-Compound. So it's got this more kind of a rough texture. It's a slightly firmer grip. Anytime you get a grip that's a bit more firmer, it provides a little bit better feedback. This kind of blends the best of both. It's got this soft rubber in the bottom hand and then a full cord with a bit more texture at the top. This is another one of our best sellers. All these come in a variety of different colors. Shoot me an email if you want to get any of your clubs regripped and you're interested in the colors we offer. This, obviously, black and blue. This is actually the #1 grip on tour because it's very functional and it blends the best of both, like I said. So this comes in, it's a bit more expensive. It comes in at $12.50 per grip installed. Anytime you get cord, it adds a bit of cost to the grip, but it's also a bit better at moisture management. If you're like me, you have pretty sweaty palms, and when you're playing in some really humid conditions like we get here in Chicago in the middle of the summer, and you're like me, you need some texture, you need some moisture management. So this is kind of a stepping stone from our Tour Velvet and our Tour Wrap into what Golf Pride calls their Z cord. So this is very firm, full of texture. This is the full cord model. It's also available without the cord. Great for moisture management. I have to have these when I'm playing on a summer day, otherwise I can't hold the club. It's a great grip, also pretty popular on tour. Those guys tend to like firmer grips. That doesn't necessarily mean it's right for you, but this is a great grip. If you're somebody with sweaty palms, I'd encourage you to check it out. It is also $12.50 installed. So within all these grips, we also have the option of doing what Golf Pride calls the +4. Now this is available in the multi-compound, so the one that's cord at the top and regular rubber at the bottom. The +4 is available in that as well as in the basic Tour Velvet rubber grip. Now what the +4 is it doesn't taper as much in the bottom hand. I don't know if you can see it there, but it's basically what I mean by that is it's a little bit fatter in your bottom hand. So what that does is it kind of quiets that as a right-handed player, your right hand down a bit. So if you're somebody who tends to kind of over-release it, hit a lot of hooks, I would encourage you to check out the +4. Also, it feels really cool. So this is a kind of a way, I guess it can be best described as having a grip that effectively has a few extra wraps under the right hand only. So it doesn't taper as much. It's the same size up at the top end of the grip, but as you go lower, more towards the head end of the club, it doesn't have as much taper in the +4. It's been a really popular grip the last few years. Another cool thing that they introduced, I believe it was last year, is the Align. Now this is really, they might market it differently, but this is really nothing new. Ribbed grips used to be very popular, and for some reason they went away for a while, and now they're making a comeback. So really it's got this harder rubber at the back, and what that does when it's installed correctly, by the way, so if it's crooked, this kind of screws everything up. So that's why you should have somebody like me or my assistant Brandon put on your grips for you. And unless you're really confident that you can do them yourself, which maybe you are, some of you, if you're not, that's what we're here for. But this is the Align grip. This is available in both the multi-compound. Again, that's the one with the softer rubber towards the head end of the club and the cord at the top. And it's also available in the multi-compound. And it's also available in the Z grip. So for somebody who likes texture and you still want that benefit from the Align grip, again, that's with a rib at the back, something I'd encourage. So in my first video, I talked about how important it is to keep that club resting in your fingertips, and that also aids in alignment. Well, hence the name Align. This helps you square that club up because you can really feel the spine of that grip in your fingertips as you address the ball. Helps with face awareness coming through impact. So if you are somebody who chronically, whatever, you hit duck hooks or slices or whatever, maybe this will help you. Maybe you can start to kind of get a little bit more face awareness at impact. So again, those are our best sellers. We've got the Tour Velvet and Tour Wrap here. Those come in at $8.50 installed. And then the multi-compound, the half and half, and the Z grip, full texture, super firm. I like this one. Totally up to you. These come in at $12.50 a grip installed. So now I'm going to move on to putter grips. Now putter grips, really there's kind of two, well there's tons of options, but there's really, it's broken down into two categories. Super Stroke has been hugely popular in the last several years. What they became popular for is having a grip with no taper. So as you can see, this is straight down. So what that is supposed to do is quiet that low hand. So if you're somebody who tends to ginch up and pull putts to the left as a right-handed player, or as a lefty, pull it to the right, I encourage you to try out the Super Stroke. Now that's not to say it's yip-proof, otherwise we'd all be playing it. But rather than describe it as a way to quiet your hands, I think it's more appropriate to describe it as a grip that's better for somebody who doesn't have as much of a pronounced arc in their putting stroke. Meaning if that face tends to open and close through impact, which is what should happen because the putter sits at 70 or 71 degrees. If it's at 90 degrees, then you could bring it straight back, straight through. Straight back, straight through is kind of a myth unless you like to manipulate your hands. That's the only way to do that without getting on a soapbox. If you like to quiet down that face rotation, go for, it doesn't have to be a Super Stroke, but something with no taper. Wynn's got a version of it too, as does Golf Pride. Now for somebody like me, I like that putter head swinging a bit more because I tend to push putts to the right, so I go with the classic pistol shape. As you can see, this is a very well-seasoned grip. It probably needs to be replaced, but I'm kind of weird with my grips, putters anyway, and I tend to hang on to something a little longer than I should. As you can see, it's thicker at the top part of the club, and then it gets a little bit narrower at the bottom. That helps with that face rotation. So if you're somebody that nobody likes to push putts, but if you're somebody who tends to push putts out to the right as a right-handed player, go ahead and stick with the regular pistol. If you're somebody who tends to pull putts, I'd go with a non-tapered design like this Super Stroke here. That being said, it's totally a matter of preference. If you feel better holding the Super Stroke, even if you're somebody that tends to pull or push putts, then maybe non-tapered will still work for you. If it's something that you like and it feels good in your hands, that's going to give you confidence. Putting is really all about confidence. Yes, you have to be somewhat fundamentally sound, but if you put a confident stroke on it, I promise you will make more putts. These grips also come in, both the pistol and the non-tapered style come in a variety of sizes from pencil thin all the way up to tree trunk. This is kind of the middle of the road for Super Stroke. We sell a lot of these, and like the others, they come in a variety of different colors. So if you want to give your putter a bit of an upgrade, shoot me an email at nperry@auroracc.com and we'll get you set up. So for today's swing tip, rather than giving you a drill, I consider this more of a PSA on grip size. I would argue, on totally unscientific research, that most people play a grip that's slightly too thin. The reason I say that is because this is a standard size grip. A good way, kind of a rule of thumb to check that is you want your fingertips to be barely touching your palm without totally digging in. So this one isn't built up. You can see that's a little bit too small for me. So I use a standard size grip and I put 3 extra wraps underneath it, and I only wear a cadet medium glove. I've got pretty small hands. So with that being said, I think most people probably play a grip that's too small. Now with that, it kind of ties into the ball flight you're looking for. Generally, if a grip is a bit on the thinner side for you, for your hands, that's going to promote more of a draw ball flight. So as a right-handed player, if that shot tends to go to the left and you like that, stick with maybe a standard size grip without the taper, or I'm sorry, with the taper, without that thicker bottom hand that the +4 that I talked about a little bit ago offers. Now, if you hate the hook and you want to maybe get rid of it, again, this isn't something that's going to like fix your hook, but it can minimize the effect of that club face turning over the thicker you go. So maybe I'd encourage you to try out a mid-size. We've got a few guys here that play even jumbo grips, so if you like the feel of a baseball bat, go for it. It's totally a matter of preference, but the main thing is when you get that, if you're totally not sure and you hit it all over the place, just try to find a grip where your fingertips barely touch your palm as you grip the club. Of course, we can tweak it anywhere, so if you're like in between a standard size and a mid-size, we can just build up a standard size a little bit. If you're between a mid-size and a jumbo, same thing. We can just put a few extra wraps of tape underneath it and get it, and that's how we kind of cheat with sizes to get them right in between what you might be looking for. So, keeping that in mind, again, if you hate seeing that shot hook, maybe try something a little bit fatter, or try the +4, which is a little bit thicker in the bottom hand. If you're somebody who's a chronic slicer, maybe try a little bit thinner grip. Keep all that in mind, and like I said, this is a great time to regrip your clubs. Let me know if you want to do that. It doesn't take long, and they'll be ready to go for you the next day. Hopefully we're out playing golf soon, but doesn't look likely as I'm looking out there right now. We've got snow on the ground. So hang in there. We'll talk to you soon, and I'll see you next week. Thanks.